Special Director, please.
Jeff Crump, C-R-U-M-P.
Judge, just for the record, I just want to make sure that I get this right, this in our sidebar conversation. I'm going to offer via stipulation between myself and Mr. Hostica. First, Lieutenant Crump's qualifications in the area of firearm and tool mark identification as an expert.
Mr. Hostica.
So stipulate.
Right. Lieutenant Crump will be received under Michigan Rule of Evidence 702 as an expert in the area of firearm and tool mark identification.
And the other, excuse me, the other stipulation, my understanding is that we're stipulating that Lieutenant Crump did in fact examine the Walther P-22 that's already been admitted into evidence, the shell casings and bullets and bullet fragments taken from the Rebecca Bletch homicide scene. And I think that's it. If I'm not mistaken.
Right, Mr.
Yes.
Mr. Hostica, as to the second stipulation.
So stipulated.
All right, so the court will receive, as stipulated fact, the following, that Lieutenant Crump is an expert in firearm and tool mark identification, and that Lieutenant Crump examined the Walther P-22 caliber handgun that is exhibit number
Exhibit number 76, Judge.
Exhibit number 76, and conducted analysis with respect to shell casings
I've got those
and
numbers.
bullet fragments. Go ahead.
That would be People's Exhibit 64, 65, and 67.
Is that, am we on the right ground here, Mr. Hostica?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Very well. I'll accept the stipulations.
Thank you, Judge. I'm going to hand you, Lieutenant, what's marked as People's Exhibit 79, 80, and 81. Are those reports that you authored based off of the stipulations that we just entered into in this court?
Yes, sir, they are.
Now, in particular, first and foremost, in your examination of the Walther P-22 handgun, as it relates to the serial number, what did you observe?
When it originally came in, I observed that the main serial number was defaced or obliterated, meaning that it appears as though somebody tried to intentionally eradicate it. And that's what I observed originally with that serial number.
And do you have techniques in the area that you work in order to try to restore that number?
We do. We use chemical etchants to apply to the area, and that can sometimes bring the serial number back up. Also, there are some manufacturers that apply a secondary serial number, and that was the case with this manufacturer. So there was a secondary serial number that was found on the firearm.
And so you were able to actually see the serial number belonging to that gun, is that correct?
That's correct.
And do you recall, sir, or do you have notes to the effect of what that serial number was in fact was?
It was L. Lincoln 397098.
I'm sorry, do that one more time. L. Lincoln.
397098.
All right. And was that firearm operational when it came into the lab?
It was.
All right. Now, as it relates to People's Exhibit 79, which is your record number 3, what analysis did you do for this particular record?
This was the first firearms record on this case dealing with the Rebecca Bletch homicide. So this was the first evidence that I received, which included 3 .22 long rifle caliber fired cartridge cases, I believe six different .22 caliber firearms, through a firearm, maybe get some of the chamber marks on that cartridge without firing it, and if you pull it back out and maybe put it in another firearm, it still could have chamber marks from one firearm but fired in a different firearm.
All right, so if I understand correctly then, from your first record, you were able to make the conclusion that those 3 shell casings were chambered in the same firearm?
Minimally, yes.
Minimum.
Yes.
Okay. Were you able to make any conclusions on this first record as it relates to the bullets and the fragments?
The bullets, basically what I did first with them was classify them as being .22 class caliber fired lead bullets. And at the time, I felt that they lacked sufficient individual characteristics for an identification at that time. And so basically all I did was classify them and as to their caliber.
All right, and were you able to do that?
I did.
And what caliber, sir?
.22 caliber.
Now, in your report, do you reference, going back to the shell casings, I apologize for a second, do you reference, if you're able to, their stamp or manufacturer?
They have the head stamp of C, which is typical for the company CCI.
Okay. And those, just so we're staying on the same page here, those were the shell casings removed from the crime scene involving Rebecca Bletch's homicide?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay. In record 80, or excuse me, People's Exhibit 80, record 6, what are we looking at there, sir?
This is a report that I authored regarding some evidence that was collected during the search of a vehicle, which included the Walther P22 firearm.
Okay, and what, if any analysis or conclusions did you make in reference to that record?
With this record, since that firearm was submitted on that record, and I examined it, obtained test shots from it, I compared those test shots from that firearm to the evidence from the Rebecca Bletch homicide, and was able to identify the 3 .22 fired cartridge cases as having been fired in that firearm. And additionally, the 3 bullets, my items 15A, 15B, and 17, were also identified as having been fired from that firearm.
Okay. So the shell casings you matched to that firearm, and the actual bullets themselves matched to that firearm.
That's correct.
Okay. And I guess I jumped one ahead of myself. No, I didn't. People's Exhibit 81. That's your record number 25. What is that?
What exhibit are we on?
81.
81.
This is a report I authored. It basically says the same as the last report, except that this report, People's Exhibit 81, is for the Muskegon County Sheriff Department and their complaint number on the Bletch homicide, and the previous one was a different laboratory number, which involved the Muskegon County Sheriff's Department complaint number on the search of Mr. Willis's vehicle.
Oh, okay. So
they say the same thing.
Gotcha. One is because we had 2 separate complaint numbers, one for the one involving the search of the vehicle, and one for Rebecca Bletch's homicide.
Correct. So I basically wrote 2 reports with the same conclusions for each different lab number.
Fair enough. So, in essence, then 80 and 81 say the same thing.
Correct.
All right. you've had an opportunity to review both 79, 80, and 81. Did they have your signature on it, sir?
They did.
And anything different from the time you originally wrote and made those conclusions on either one of those exhibits?
No.
Your Honor, I move for the admission of 79, 80, and 81.
I will not object to them as records for this purpose of this preliminary exam, and I'm not stipulating to the accuracy of the conclusions, so Judge.
So there's no objection to the admission of the report then?
No.
All right, so 79, 80, and 81 will be received.
Judge, thank you. I have no other questions of this witness.
All right, well, this seems like the most logical break point to break for our afternoon lunch. So we'll resume, just check with my staff here. Right, I have a number of arraignments. I'm going to try and see if one of my colleagues will cover them for me, so we can resume at 1:30. Tentatively, we will start at 1:30 p.m.
Judge, is the courtroom going to be locked again like it was on Tuesday?
Sorry?
Can be, Judge.
Yeah, we can make that happen.
Please.
Yeah.
So I can leave my stuff right here, Your Honor, is that all right?
Well,
That's your decision, that the court will be secured once I
Okay.
yeah, so as the sergeant said. All right, so we'll resume at 1:30 p.m.
Yep.